Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to 2020 Summer LCK. I'm Atlas, joined by LS, and we have a match on our hands coming up here as SANDBOX do attempt to take down Gen.G. The road for SANDBOX has been really rough.
It has definitely been filled with a lot of very strong teams, and it's not over yet, as they're going to beat Genji tonight, and I can't imagine anyone who would actually predict them to win here.
Yeah, I think the odds on a SANDBOX victory, if you were to bet on it, would get you a lot of money.
Yep.
That being said, I don't think there's any smart money on SANDBOX here tonight. I think Gen.G are looking good. They actually came off a victory against Damwon in one of their previous series. We just witnessed Damwon take down T1 2-0. And that does make Gen.G look a lot stronger than I think the standings would have you suggest after their loss to DRX.
And I think that Gen.G, coming into tonight's match, I mean, if there's a time to have any sort of experimentation with drafts or anything along those lines, it would be here tonight. Whereas SANDBOX, they can't afford such luxuries, so 3 wins in a row for Gen.G, pressing down the accelerator pedal, versus 4 losses in a row, as SANDBOX are looking very reminiscent of Gen Air of old.
Yeah, it's certainly a nosedive at this particular point in time. We do need to talk about the teams that they've been up against. They started off with a loss against Afrika, then they played Damwon, Dragon X, and T1.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's been a tough road for SANDBOX, and like you said, it doesn't get any easier up against Gen.G here. But the second half of the first round robin is going to be a little bit better for SANDBOX. Plus, I believe this is the last match that SANDBOX has without Yamato on the stage.
Yeah.
So after this, he is free from quarantine, and we will have our cannon here ready to try and get his team back on track against some lower tier teams as well. Yeah. As we move further forward here for SANDBOX.
So we'll have to see what can end up happening. SANDBOX first roster update coming in for Summer, utilizing their 10-man roster. Who will be their breakthrough? Now, the surprising thing is that their substitute players, or who they have available on their 10-man roster, it's hard to imagine a lot of swaps actually even occurring.
Yeah.
So that's why, even though it is a 10-man roster, I don't think it's a 10-man roster in the way that a lot of people would perceive it to be.
Yeah, you wouldn't necessarily want to put in Lonely over Summit, right? Like we saw that happen last split, and it didn't necessarily work out. We are going to be experimenting here. We're going to keep you, we'll keep the mystery alive for a little bit longer until we do go over what particular swaps have happened for today's match. But I think that this is all down to experimentation that SANDBOX is certainly going to be able to do, because their likelihood of winning is very, very, very low.
Yeah.
Despite them having a decent first turret percentage, nailed it. 66.7% of the time. Not bad, as we are going to go over the Gen.G roster here, as Kellen is going to be moving into the bottom side of the map. Feels like we are basically alternating between Life and Kellen here for Gen.G, but otherwise the roster will remain the same, with Ruler, BDD, Clid, and Rascal being very, very solid in their roles. I think shout out has to be made for Rascal, who's really come into his own towards the top side of the map. I think him and Kana are really the good news stories when it comes to top lane here in Korea.
Yep.
As far as moving themselves up in the rankings, certainly still a lot of top laners that are remaining strong. Noguri to be a good example of that, and then Keen. But Summit was another man that we were talking about being a powerhouse, but hasn't been in this season, nor the last one, actually. Feels like a shadow of his former self. We know what Summit's capable of, and we will continue to talk about him, but he does need to prove himself, as this is going to be the change-ups. Fate is moving into the mid lane. Dove is going to be stepping back, and no Gorilla this time around either, with Cabby, formerly Iroh, formerly Cabby, formerly on Griffin, is going to be moving towards that bottom side of the map. So let's see whether those alpha plays are going to continue with those level 1 flashes that we did enjoy when he was beside Viper.
Yeah, this is going to be very, very interesting. And I wonder if they're doing this because this is the last hurrah before the easier lineups start taking place. But key player here, Rascal versus Summit. Summit finding 0 solo kills so far this season.
Yep. Damage
difference at 15, negative 292. Gold difference at 15, 3.2. That's a very bizarre gold difference.
Yeah, it is actually really weird.
Yeah, Is that okay? Damage per minute.
The gold difference is actually that close to their opponent, like 2 gold, really?
That seems really strange.
That's an odd stat.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe we're getting it wrong. So production, please let us know.
Chai at the
All right,
bottom,
so it is actually just gold difference. It's just that low. It's a very weird stat. You're exactly right. We're going to have a look at Rascal here. Getting settled in for his matchup against Summit. Summit always looks calm, but I feel like his play doesn't suggest that he's very calm. As Clid, coming off a very good Lee Sin performance recently, was able to actually start fights and skirmishes, much like the Clid of old from back in the LPL. I'm not sure whether we're going to see that sort of play here today, whether they're just going to be the old wrecking ball of Gen.G that slowly but surely will destroy you. As these are the 2 newbies coming in for the 2020 summer season. We have seen Fate before in spring, but Cabby making his first appearance here on SANDBOX.
Yep. And we'll see what they can manage to do here. This really feels like they're being thrown to the wolves. This match against
straight up.
Gen.G, as I really can't imagine. I mean, Fate's champion pool up against BDD.
His champion pool looks exactly the same as Dove's champion pool, by the way.
And Cabby only having played the Braum. Now, interestingly enough, Cabby has been pretty consistently super high on the Korean ladder for a very long time. I used to actually coach him 2 years ago.
Really?
Yes, he was on the KG team.
That's
that I had
very
a brief stint with before being told I had to stop. As not allowed, apparently.
Okay. But it is interesting having Cabby move in, because I would imagine that one of the mainstays for SANDBOX is going to be Gorilla, because he is sort of like the brains trust of this team.
Yep.
His mechanics certainly have been slipping in their previous matches, so that could be a likely reason as to why SANDBOX have been relieved of their support. As not going to waste any time. The Varus is going to go. As Set and Yuumi to be taken away from SANDBOX here. As it feels like any former Griffin support player just shouldn't be allowed to play Yuumi. Seems to be the case. If you learned a thing or two from Lehens, maybe just don't risk being Yuumi'd.
Yeah. Well, SANDBOX already off to a pretty good start, at least in the ban phase here. Varus has been banned away. Team earlier tonight did not manage to do that.
We won't talk about that. As there's the Callista ban. So Gen.G have a free Aphelios if they would like to, but it is going to be the Karma instead. As, oh god, this is actually really smart from Gen.G, because now if SANDBOX pick Aphelios, then they get to put Karma Ashe in the bottom lane, and then Aphelios doesn't get to play the game. At least for a large portion of the early to mid game.
How many Aatroxes do you want to see?
Well, I want to see only all for one Aatrox.
All right.
Or Aatrox, depending on how you want to.
I think you actually just gave me Nightmare Fuel. I've completely forgot that mode existed, and there was a way to have 10 Renekton's and 10 Aatrox. All right, well, Azir and Trundle, and honestly, On Fleek does, he looks very bored.
Well, I mean, he's about to play Trundle, dude. What are you suggesting? As BDD Zed being hovered is an option into the Azir. Doesn't have a bad matchup. But probably wanting to flex that Karma for a little bit longer. 3 seconds to go. Clid going to move over to the Ashe. And this is what we were talking about before. This is a bottom lane that Ruler absolutely loves. We saw him make a bit of a whoopsie as Ashe versus Aphelios, but ultimately it did not matter. As we're going to pull out some Lee Sin here for Clid. We've seen Lee Sin being picked into Trundle all day. And it worked out for Canyon. We'll see whether it's going to work out here for Clid, as I'm actually just really happy to see his Lee Sin back. He was one of the best Lee Sins in the world in 2019. And very much looking forward to seeing him rise back to that prominent form that we knew Clid for. As Aphelios is going to be locked away, so SANDBOX just runs straight into it. Like they saw the post there, and they're like, oh, let's just keep running. See whether we can run through the post.
The super peculiar thing about Aphelios is, okay, sure, he's good against Lee Sin, but he's running into Ashe and Karma, which is extremely peculiar. Now, we'll see. Now, the other thing also is that Karma is a flex pick,
Yep.
She can go mid, top, or support. So if SANDBOX tries to R4 the support pick, then Gen.G can actually get a potentially even more favorable matchup down in bottom without having to rely on Ashe Karma. So we'll see what ends up happening there.
I would assume Thresh should be banned here from Gen.G.
Yeah, they're respecting that Karma can be flexed multiple directions. And Zoe.
Yep, has been something that BDD has been known for in the past, and does okay into the Azir matchup. Very interesting that, you know, you bench Dove and then still first pick Azir. When, I mean, Fate certainly has it in his champion pool, absolutely, but I like seeing roster switch-ups actually being utilized for an added champion pool or a change in how you want to draft, and it hasn't actually happened so far. Cabby, of course, was very well known for his set support, but it's now going to be the Thresh that I was talking about. Didn't get banned and therefore should be picked up here. Cabby's going to be taking that for his debut game in the SANDBOX jersey.
And now they could actually, they could just Morgana.
Oh, God.
Down in bottom would be very good against several of... I'm going to hell tonight, Al. First class.
Oh, there we go.
First class.
This is something that Rascal is very happy to pick. He prides himself on his Renekton, just to give you guys a backstory. But it's still not going to save him from the LS wrath. As that's an Echo. So it is looking like that Karma is heading into the support position.
The very strange thing is now they just picked B3, B4, B5, 3 champions in a row that are bad against Aphelios, and they're running into him. So if SANDBOX can't win with this kind of a draft edge that started out actually pretty bad for them,
yeah,
I really don't know what else to say. You have Ornn into Renekton. Yes, Azir versus Echo. Azir has control early, and then Echo eventually outscales him, but the problem is that ornaments are going to come online, and the enemy team is extremely vulnerable to mid to late game Aphelios and then hyper late game Aphelios. And Genji does not really have a very good leg to stand on. There's realistically only one kick target, and it's a champion that he can't even get onto.
Yeah, this is really, really tough. Unless you're going to kick an Azir while he's sliding towards you or something like that to deny a Shurima shuffle. This is 100% Gen.G deciding that they want to win this game by 22 minutes, and if they don't, they're just going to lose. And on the other side, SANDBOX have the most quintessential LCK team composition you can possibly see. There is nothing more we're going to scale to the late game than exactly what SANDBOX have.
Well, this is going to be interesting. I still think that given the champions, Gen.G should be able to win, even though what I mean by that is there's enough control that's granted to their key players.
Yeah.
That they should be able to still win out if you're a Gen.G fan and you're worried, but that's because of the team discrepancy that's present. This is one of the top teams versus one of the lower ends, but this is a really, really good draft. Edge for SANDBOX here.
Well, it might be that Yamato Cannon has already inspired Joker there, who was the stagecoach for the final time before Yamato is going to make his way in. But I don't know whether it's going to be enough to save SANDBOX. Let's see whether Gen.G can get those early leads that they've been looking for, or whether SANDBOX are just going to be able to scale their way to a victory. Ooh, Cabby's taking the unsealed Spellbook Thresh. I like it.
Well, looks like there's just going to be a very safe spread here by SANDBOX. Kellen going to move in here, and honestly, I mean, whoever does Karma's outfits, exquisite on this skin. I honestly, I gotta tell you.
You're a big fan?
Yeah, I am definitely a big fan.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, looks
very pretty.
nice.
Very pretty.
Very elegant.
I'm normally a Sun Goddess Karma fan. I think that was her first skin that she was given outside of her default one.
Ashe's skin reminds me of like strawberry shortcake.
Yeah, a little bit.
You know, It's making me, honestly, it's making me want ice cream.
Also reminds me of like the Archer class, all of the clothing for Archer class in like a game like Aeon.
Okay.
It's like very Korean MMO style.
Yeah.
I like that a lot because we are here in Korea. If you guys haven't played a Korean MMO before, they are legit. Often requiring way more of your time than they necessarily should. As Ruler is going to pull the wave, but not going to be able to break the aggro. As you can see, there was a cute little ward put in the brush.
Now, interestingly enough, what this ends up doing is causes the wave to move into Kellen and Ruler, and then they're able to just constantly try to harass Aphelios and Thresh.
Yeah, this is how we expect this lane to go. It's not great. I don't know why I don't want to watch this because it's really, really hard for Aphelios and Thresh, especially in the early levels. Karma comes with an extra button, for goodness sake. Very unfair.
Even Scorch taking on Karma. Definitely just looking for pure lane kingdom right now.
Speaking of which, bit of a scuffle in the mid lane. BDD winning out on the trade for that moment, but not entirely sure whether that's entirely going to continue happening. 11-4 is the CS margin here as Hawkshot flies out. And Ruler, what?
Oh, did they notice?
I don't think they actually saw the wolf camp.
Yeah, I mean, they could have definitely seen the animation, or that the wolves were not in the, is it burrow?
Yeah.
Is that the word?
The Mirkwood Den?
Yeah.
It's a den. Mirkwolf Den.
Totally fine.
Because wolves, they live in a den. So that would make sense. Summit's going to build some stuff. Time Winder here in the mid lane. BDD will have shove advantage by the time he gets a few points in that queue. Even though, you know, Azir does have fantastic wave clear. Echo pretty good at just throwing a Q in and then leaving.
Well, 1.5 minutes until the Infernal will end up coming up. There's not a whole lot of action that can really happen in any of these lanes except for bottom. And you can see Ruler and Kellen, they're just going to come down here, shove in the wave. They have Lee Sin in close proximity, but they're not really getting any meaningful poke. And
this might be meaningful, as we're going to need to fat flash through the wall. Rascal's going to nail it. That was the big bit of the wall too, so congrats to Rascal. Rascal keeps himself alive, but a successful gank top side of the map for SANDBOX. Things starting well so far.
Yeah.
I mean, not here. This is not good, but it's better than it could be.
Yeah, I mean, the bot side is really not achieving what you would hope. They have a 7 CS advantage right now, but honestly, if you're Root and Cabby in this lane, you're feeling pretty fine.
Yeah.
Still haven't even lost a turret plate. And Ruler and Kellen just not ever really
Okay. Hook comes in. That's the Inspire that comes out. That keeps a lot of the damage off Kellen. Still, it's a good call. Heal used by Cabby.
Yeah, spellbook available in 1.5 minutes.
Yep. May as well throw around some summoner spells.
There's a lot of ping pong happening here in mid lane. BDD has already used his teleport, as has Fate.
This cannon creep probably going to get denied.
Nope.
Very close. No, all right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic news for Root.
Very big victory there.
Cabby even able to give that one over. Root does have his flamethrower. The Infernum. Grabbing him there as well, so he can just be Ash himself, if he would like to be. But Cabby's going down real low. He's just soaking poke. And not a lot of sustain in this lane for this duo. So I think Gen.G are going to continue to pull ahead. But Summit on the top side, I mean, he's benefiting so much from this.
Yeah.
The Ornn has a decent matchup into the Renekton regardless. And the better he's doing, the better his whole team will be doing. As if he can get accelerated ornaments, it's just closer and closer to Doomsday for Genji. Okay, Root getting taken down real low as the hook barely misses.
Yeah.
Looking for another Q from Kellen, but we don't get it. We're just going to skip around to a whole bunch of different champions.
Oh, man.
As BDD is going to walk over a control ward, but I honestly just don't think it matters. There's the parallel convergence. Not quite enough there as he flashes on forward. First blood going over to BDD. He has his ultimate and was wanting his clone to catch up so that he could get a little bit more damage. And in the meantime, Clit is going to take down the Infernal Drake. So as we were talking about SANDBOX having this game in a decent position, it flies away from them very, very quickly.
Well, very, very unfortunate. They were not able to get any pressure relief bottom. Currently, On Fleek is on farm right now so far in this game. Just a little bit of World of Warcraft, not a big deal. Not a big deal. Meanwhile, up here in top lane, Bommy is immediately rushed for Ornn, which is really bad for his lane, because now he forcefully pushes, which isn't as ideal as just perma-freezing. Really good roam by BDD down into bottom. Aphelios doesn't have TP, he's not able to get anything, says I'm going. Ends up R'ing in response to the hook, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty clean. But this is what this comp has to do from Gen.G. They need to start things early. They've now got themselves an Infernal Drake, Ocean Drake going to be coming up, and then they could go for a Cloud Soul pretty easily after that. I don't think Mountain Drake exists today. It's just not one of those things. BDD trying to get that time wind to come back through the minion. Unable to do so. Summit and Rascal having a pretty slow day up here. Starting off pretty casually, as you can see. Pretty cool crocodile skin. But otherwise, nothing doing. We're looking for our Sunfire Cape as soon as possible. Is Cabby going to take a lot of damage here? Gives himself a bit of a shield as the exhaust comes through. And yeah, Rule is just going to auto-attack. Root trying to trade one back here, but Kellen, he will have his shield up once again. These are pretty good weapons for Root, but at this stage, not going to be able to win that fight. We're moving towards a 20 CS lead for Ruler on the bottom side.
Yeah. And Clid's just going to pick up a Shuttle Crab. Meanwhile, in mid lane, I mean, Azir is up on CS, but that's not really going to equate to a whole lot. Summit without option to really freeze or do anything. Rascal just going to take a quick trade, pop the bone plating.
Yep, but clears out all the minions as well, so doesn't need to worry about what Summit's doing from now on. As we have a look at this towards the bottom side again, Kellen walks up, gets one slow, by the way, guys. He's getting one slow. And then Cabby's just dead with basically nothing he can do.
100 to 0'd. And it's one of those kills that leaves you sort of just scratching your head. Because it's very obvious that they're unlethal, but also their lane state is in such an insufferable spot. And if you go into this game and you re-watch it, and you just pay attention to the trade patterns as well as the jungle pathing, there's very clear times where Aphelios and Thresh wants aid or resets at the cost of foregoing a jungle camp or something. But if you just play ping pong endlessly, then yes, mid is going to be fine, Echo versus Azir. Your Azir is going to be okay. Ornn's going to be fine against Renekton. But bot lane will bleed out if you don't help it. It can't win on its own accord unless Aphelios and Thresh just dramatically outplay Ash Karma.
Yeah, and this is assuming that, okay, Ruler's just going 1v2, as you can see. And Root just going to take it. Not able to get a hook through the minions there on Cabby's side. This is dominance for the bottom lane of Gen.G. We expected this to happen. This is what this lane does. But I was also expecting a little bit more. Like, this was completely face up. First and second pick from Gen.G. And so you'd expect that SANDBOX would have some sort of response. But as of right now, 25 CS in the lead. Not too many responses available for the SANDBOX bottom lane. BDD goes back, collects himself some Sorcerer Shoes and a gun.
Oh. Rascal at this point. Just still going blow for blow. He is actually down on EXP. Summit's already 9 and has a cannon right in front of him, so that's a little bit surprising.
Yep, there's the Ornn. Okay. Slice, dice not available. As, sometimes you just want to throw a ram at things, you know?
Yeah, the really weird thing is that Rascal has Dominus available, and even the full Ornn combo at that point wouldn't execute. So a very peculiar attempt. Now maybe it could just be to get Renekton low enough so that Ornn's Joust would win.
Oh, that's a great pillar from On Fleek, because the hook is going to be flashed from Kellen. Cabby had his eye in there, though. That's a free summoner spell. Rule is still trashing this lane in the meantime, but Definitely a good news story. But Clid, who'd picked up Shelly earlier, is going to park her on the bottom side, and it's only going to make things worse for SANDBOX. Is that value volley? That was very, very good starting. Felt really good. As, yep, Shelly's going to pile all of that gold onto the Gen.G members. Not going to get that first turret just yet, but it's 11.5 minutes into the game. So there's still plenty of time to lock down that last plate. Yeah. Speaking of plates, none taken in any of the other lanes. Only 4 in favor of Gen.G to the 0 of SANDBOX thus far.
And it looks like Gen.G is going to get an Ocean Drake, and then after this they're going to roll Mountain. Which, for SANDBOX, would actually be pretty good.
Hey, nice. Look at you go.
You know,
I mean, I cursed it before, but that was much better.
Honestly, it's totally fine.
Yeah, nailing it.
You curse it, but I leak it.
Yep. As, okay, gonna take a lantern and then not be able to do anything because there are a billion slows, and there's the arrow cleared, biding his time, wanting to get behind the members of SANDBOX. Q's gonna land, teleport's coming through from almost everyone as Rascal gets in there very close, and that's going to guarantee this last remaining plate and the first turret. Now teleport to come through from BDD just to save that top lane outer. Summit had taken a plate from that one.
Oh, a 3,000 gold lead now, but remember that Infernal Dragon is adding a little bit more. Summit up here. I really hope that Sapphire is not for a Glacial Shroud.
No, it'll be for Catalyst.
All right, I hope so.
No, you're fine.
All right.
Summit's not going to let us down like that.
Okay.
No.
Right.
He never would. Never.
He does. I mean, how quick can Balda, you know? I mean, well, Mountain Drake, 4 minutes until that happens. Black Cleaver almost completed.
Cull almost completed too.
Yeah, Cull picked up by Renekton is a very nice addition.
And actually, yeah, with the Blade of the Ruin King done, Gen.G are moving towards a pretty good power spike to try and gather themselves a soul point, which they should easily be able to do. It's looking like the snowball's working out here, LS. How are we feeling? As far as like the amount of snowball that they need for this comp, are they at a good clip?
Ruler and Kellen could have just frozen top, and Summit would have to drag over Trundle to unlock it, otherwise he would just hemorrhage hundreds and hundreds of gold each minute, because there's no objectives up on the map. So that was actually a perfect free spot by Ashe. Complete lost opportunity. Root and Cabby would have made their way up to top lane. They would have missed all these minions, and they would probably end up actually missing this next wave as well, which is something that's lost out on. And during lull states like this, I mean, this should be the next leveled play that should end up happening, but instead, we're going to play ping pong, and then things get a little bit weird, because realistically, there should be no kills that can occur, because both parties are completely aware
of what to fight over.
Where everyone is on the map. And it's very easy to use deductive reasoning to conclude maybe what could be waiting for you in the Fog of War at any given point.
Well, as we can see, Catalyst was completed, so, you know, it's not all bad. Summit is at least not going towards an Iceborne Gauntlet for his second ornament. It will be the Abyssal Mask, and he's still ahead in farm, up by about 15. Not going to talk about the freezing, which could have potentially given Rascal a bit more of an advantage. That's absolutely okay. And that was a very, very satisfying Cull to make.
Everything else is just going pretty standard. I mean, this has been a very slow early and mid-game day. Summit.
Ooh, Searing Charge was good. Buffered that one, as now he's just going to get smoked. And I don't know whether he's going to win this 1v2. He's doing a fair bit of damage here, but the kickback is going to deny the ram. Great timing there from Clid. Really well played. Bellow's Breath not available to avoid the Dragon Rage. And now SANDBOX thinking about taking Shell.
The funny thing is this is like an unintentional byproduct of what could happen if you were freezing. Even though Renekton didn't, the same effect is achieved where Ornn's super overextended.
Yeah.
And very prone to a gank. And at this point, I mean, SANDBOX are just slowly bleeding out more and more. They're down 4,000 gold. Now, as soon as Ornn completes both his items, that actually, I mean, it's really big. It helps remove the gold deficit to an extent. But the problem is that Gen.G are going to be threatening Soul Point super early, 22 minutes or so.
Well, there's the ulti come out from Faith. Oh, the damage from BDD!
Man.
The sickest of outplays as BDD's going to just get rid of that turret aggro, and Clid's going to go into counter jungling immediately after that really beautiful play. This Shirley not going to be able to take down the outer turret top lane. And, oh man, Gen.G looking in flying form right now.
Well, at this point, things are definitely getting very rough. This is going to be Mountain Drake going over as soon as it ends up coming up. And SANDBOX, they're never really going to be in a position to fight over any of these Drakes because of the way the gold deficit is, but their hand's going to be forced on Soul.
Yeah, and it's probably going to be one of the easiest Soul points to ever be achieved by Gen.G if they actually get over to the Dragon Pit, which it looks like they will be able to. But let's have a look at this fight once again.
Yeah.
I love Echoes that use their ulti for damage, by the way. Biddy could have used it right here.
Yeah.
But instead...
He ends up waiting for the clone, and then Fate is... honestly, he's feeling very, very bad about that.
Yeah. The flash was also unfortunate as he died basically as that was happening.
This might be a oh no, it's not a perfect game. They have a turret.
They do have a turret.
Unfortunate.
They are one turret away from the perfect game though.
Yeah.
So there's that. Something that good old Quickshot has always been telling me about. Max, stop talking about perfect games when there's no perfect game. It's like, yeah, but it's almost a perfect game.
Alright.
As look at the Summit.
Whoa!
There's the kickback. Not going to be searingly charging that one, and Summit's also going to fail the flash over the wall. Soul point, 5-0 in kills, up 6,000 gold. I think a lot of us knew that this was going to be pretty one-sided, but when it happens, it still does hurt a little bit. SANDBOX just relegated to being almost in their base, even at the 18-minute mark. And
at this point, I mean, it's 4 minutes until Mountain Soul comes up. Over 6,000 gold deficit, but you factor in what Mountain is doing, as well as Infernal, and it's bigger than that. And we're 18 minutes in, so things are very, very, very hard. And if you're SANDBOX and you have on rose-tinted, or if you're a SANDBOX fan, you have on rose-tinted glasses, and you're also under the influence, you might think, well, Aphelios can still 200 years, right? And you know what, Atlas?
Yeah?
You're right.
Oh,
you know, I mean,
yeah.
There is a chance.
We have to remember that SANDBOX's comp just does scale extremely well. So that whole story needs to be stated, but with how things are going right now, it's certainly not looking good. As that flash was unfortunate, to say the least.
It's just looking so impossible because as soon as the team fight breaks out, Ashe and Echo are just going to have a field day.
And the amount of CC that they have available to them, man, is just crazy.
Right, and the other thing is the base levels. You have one in top lane, you have two in jungle, one in mid lane, one in AD carry, and it seems like the supports are even. But those base levels equate to entire absorbed skills or ability spellcasts from the opponent because of all the excess HP. So it's not just you get extra points in the abilities that you're leveling up. No, it's the resistances that go up each level, the HP that you get, etc. And this allows you to either sometimes ignore turrets because you get to just absorb damage and then still take a fight on even footing. But it's a very underappreciated edge that people can have over their opponents. And once they have Mountain Soul under their belt, 12% amp, everyone's getting cloth armors for free, and then the shield is just going to be too much to chew through for SANDBOX who have sustained damage. So I don't know if Aphelios can bail them out.
Yeah, might need a few extra years maybe in order to make that one work. BDD, just in time, 2 minutes until that Mountain Soul is available. He completes his Lich Bane. We've got double Black Cleavers, only further augmenting Ruler's damage and the safety that he's going to be able to have as well. It's not a lot of diving that he's going to have to deal with, and Ashe into Trundle works very, very well because you get to kite him out pretty effectively, especially with Inspire Shield on top of it. I mean, you're going to need about 15 pillars in order to cause a nuisance. As we do have level 13 for Summit, so he does have a couple of ornaments completed for himself.
Yeah.
He's at least secured that, so that's a bit of extra money in their belt, theoretically, back to about a 5,000 gold lead if you're talking about raw stats. But then you're talking about levels and things like that that need to be factored in, so all of that money sort of goes back again. And you're still looking at being approximately 7,000 gold behind.
Yeah, when you factor in the dragons as well.
Oh yeah, true.
Things are very rough. 1 minute until that mountain, and if you're Gen.G, you just want to play it as cool and calm and collected as you possibly can.
Yep, don't want to let anything slip in these next 55 seconds or so.
Everything is just going to come down to Root. He has 2 items right now on Aphelios. He needs to just make sure he has the right guns. Right now, he's Kog'Maw.
Yep.
And we'll see.
Sivir and Caitlyn, I like to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I named them all with Crown Shot.
Ooh.
No?
It's a pretty good sidestep there from Root, as BDD is going to dive onto him regardless. Still, that's a lot of years that we just saw as Rascal pops his dominance, flashes forward. Good cleanse, but Root's still in trouble. Can't flash enough as the bottom lane has already been taken down. Kellen is fighting Summit right here. It's going to get breathed on, but looks like the kiting is going to commence. And yeah, parallel convergence. Sklid's going to get out of there, and Summit's just ran around. And now with 3 dead, 8 kills to 0, Gen.G should be able to take down the Mountain Soul and then move pretty comfortably towards the Baron or the enemy Nexus, depending on which one they want to take first.
Yeah. And, I mean, an Azir turret gets summoned here in mid lane, but this is really just looking like a very, very soon-to-be-over game. Atlas says that is Mountain Soul that does get picked up. Unfortunately, Azir was highlighted. I really wish I could have seen the amp on one of the Gen.G champions. I mean, let's take a look at this one more time. Caitlyn switches back over to Kog'Maw, does a little bit of damage to Ruler, turns Kog'Maw back on for Aphelios, as we did see a lot of damage go down, but they're just way too far behind. Root not able to do anything there. Summit waiting in the back lines, but ends up being found, and then he just gets completely blown up.
He was almost in position to get off an on-horn, but just couldn't really do it. He did actually utilize it, but not to any actual effect. Almost had a great angle. Not to be the case. 8,000 gold the lead. Gen.G now with Mountain Soul will move towards a Baron. As Arrow's going to connect onto Cabby. Yeah. He's got Smite, not anymore. Well and truly dead as BDD now looking for on-fleek. They take down the jungler. The freest Baron ever will exist. Rascal has his teleport available, but he's threatening bottom side of the map as well. And now Root has been discovered by BDD. I don't know what he's going to be able to do here. As there's the flash, there's the ulti for a lot of extra damage actually, but does have a stopwatch, but it's just going to die before he can even use it. Good CC chain there from SANDBOX. Meanwhile, Rascal is just taking down an inhibitor turret. And Rule is going to be getting to work on this inner as well. Backdoor bonus comes up, so the Ashe not able to do too much more. Surprising little mechanical misplay there from BDD, not to press his stopwatch.
Well, at this point, it looks like SANDBOX, they're going to go back on wave clear duty. They want to be a little bit careful.
Yeah, there's the Ram. Ruler just Blade of the Ruin King, enough movement speed. And that's going to hit absolutely no one.
Has a career in the NFL.
Getting the goals, like it.
SANDBOX now, I mean, they're trying to really hang on. Ornn justing 14, so he's going to be able to give over Molten Edge to the Aphelios. And these Ornn items do help mitigate the gold advantage, but the Mountain Soul, it really can't be understated. BDD, he goes over the wall on Echo, ends up flashing to kill Root.
Sklid, he's going to go golden. Ruler's going to turn up, but now Root gets into the right position. Oh my god, the kiting out of Ruler's Ashe is just disgusting. On Fleek's going to go down. It's going to be Sklid that grabs that kill. In fact, make it a double as Aphelios goes down. Hook to try and taxi out, but BDD says, hell no, you're not doing that. And Rascal, in the meantime, still bottom lane. As the Baron should be started.
Baron is being started up right now. Rascal's going to back up, and honestly, that Ashe kiting was very, very pretty to watch. It really looked like Ashe took on the mantle of Aphelios for a second.
It was a little bit like that. I was wondering how many years went into creating Ashe. She was one of the first champions, so I don't think that they had that much experience there unless they were on the Dota mod team. As Sklid going to be discovered here by OnFleek to start the game-winning fight for Gen.G.
Yeah, I mean, Clid manages to get over the wall, and then take a look at Ruler's Ash here. I mean, Apilios tries to do something, and
oh my god,
he says 200 years, and Ruler says that, I don't know what he says, actually. Maybe Ash is secretly Apilios' mother. I have no idea.
I don't know.
The kiting was pretty insane. And there's really not much left for SANDBOX in this game. They're down 13,000 gold and soul. Elder's coming up in 2 minutes, if they manage to hang on that long.
This should be Genji just walking down some Baroned up minions in order to take down some Nexus turrets, some inhibitor turrets, and then of course Nexus turrets as the arrow is going to pierce the heavens. Please, observers, can we continue watching it circulate Runeterra indefinitely?
The minions are having a closer battle than the two teams are.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. Not when the Baron's there, though.
Well, they are trying to hang on. 12,000 gold.
Molten Edge is there.
Yeah, Molten Edge. We're not going to pay attention to Azir's book, but there's no ornament actually anywhere else. So I'm not really sure what the reasoning is on that.
Oh yeah, there's no possible ornaments.
There's no possible ornament.
15.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really unfortunate for Ornn. Ornn is feeling very sad right now. His items are on clearance.
Yeah, this is the thing. Just can't sell anything right now, you know, as the Ornn does come down. Ruler is going to get pinned. Does still have flash available though, and he's deciding he's not taking any damage at all. This is just insane. If Farouk can't get autos onto the Ash, then it's a problem. Or maybe he's just going to get taken down. As Clid was trying to get in there, but he's got a G8, so it doesn't even matter. Parallel convergence is there. The hook timing's great from Cabby. And you can imagine that Gen.G probably still happy to take a fight 4v5. Yep. They, in fact, did take a fight 4v5 as Rascal was breaking the base bottom side of the map. But still able to take down the jungler.
Yeah. Ruler gets a shield.
Oh, God.
Gravitum, yep. Does end up getting used. Ruler almost back at full HP.
Healing is just revolting. As PDD, he's looking to go back home. Gets himself a bit of a reset with the last 20 seconds of the Baron buff, improving that recall. Wonder what Ruler's going to go back and get. Probably building towards Infinity Edge, I guess, unless he wants a defensive item to make sure that he can just continue kiting forever. Wouldn't mind that, but instead he's just going to start off this Elder Drake by himself.
Yeah. They're going to pick this up. The Baron has expired, but with that Elder Dragon, it should be a clear-cut enough way to beat the opponents. Cabby might try to Lantern in on Fleek. Okay, they're really going to go for it.
Yep, we're going to try and fight this one out. There's a smite in the pit now as Clid is going to make his way forward. There's the parallel convergence that is going to deny any entry from SANDBOX, and they will just make their way out. You know, like, almost look like they found someone in the bathroom. They're like, oh, very, very sorry, very sorry. We'll leave. Lock the door next time, please.
Yep.
As that was what BDD was trying to do. We're going to have a look at this once again. Clid getting caught out, and the hook was fantastically timed from Cabby.
Yeah,
we'd have to give credit where credit's due.
So Karma's shield comes out, and I mean, Ornn does his full combo. They do manage to get a couple hundred damage onto Ashe, but then she heals it immediately back up. So there wasn't really that many abilities cast on her. And Azir was not able to really get in range. Clid does end up dying, and also losing his Guardian Angel passive.
Yeah, so that's good news. For SANDBOX, who have now got 2 kills, we're getting further and further away from that perfect game. 2 kills and a turret?
Well, Azanya's Paradox as the ornament of choice for Azir.
Yeah, that's desperation. It's not the item that you want. That's okay. It's a bit awkward with Azir because you really want to have
Death Crown. Yeah, but it's very hard to get to.
Now also it's a luxury item anyway, so a lot of Azirs aren't going to be able to afford building it. As BDD going to ult himself out there, didn't want to risk it. And Ruler's just being frustrating. We'll just clear out that ward very easily. It's slowly but surely, but honestly it just feels like there is no chance for SANDBOX and Genji are taking their time. 3
base levels in jungle, 1 in mid lane, 3 in AD carry, 1 in support, 2 in top lane. It's almost as if they have an extra champion when you factor in the Mountain Soul as well. So they're playing it super, super slow and safe. They're respecting 200 years.
And they've got more than an extra champion's worth of excess gold as well.
Yeah.
They could fully kit out another champion. Theoretically, is that arrow also going to pierce the heavens? I just like watching them drift away. Sort of beautiful. BDD, he doesn't. He just wants to kill an Aphelios, and he does so. Blink and you might miss it, as that is... Yeah, it didn't take 200 years for that one to happen. As Rascal underneath the Nexus turrets now, and this should be the last fight here for Gen.G. Parallel Convergence gives a big shield over to BDD, and the Crocodile is not dying here today. Not even taking up the turret. As you can see, Ruler, he goes down relatively low, but I think the turret did most of the work.
Yeah.
Now Fate and Cabby find themselves still alive, but not on a Summoner's Rift that they want to return to anytime soon. Nexus turrets to be dealt with, and Gen.G will secure game number 1 in 32 minutes. Maybe took a little bit longer than you'd otherwise expect, but was a very, very impressive showing with a composition that, if you watched most of the other LCK games, shouldn't be winning a game like this.
Yeah. They managed to just get very, very far ahead, and a lot of it came off the back of the bot lane, which is the one lane that we knew that would be vulnerable.
Yeah.
So Aphelios was picked into Ashe Karma, brilliant. And then they followed that up with the Thresh pick when the Karma could have pivoted as well, but then they lost the lane outright. So that was very unfortunate. On Fleek never did anything to relieve the pressure. Neither did the Azir or anything. Not that the Azir really can. It's more so on the jungle at that point. And Ruler just got so far ahead. BDD made the one roam to bot lane. Azir or Aphelios didn't have TP or anything to come back into lane. So things are really bad, and it just slowly built up, and eventually the game ended.
Yeah, there weren't any surprises there at all, really, apart from maybe Clid dying. It was basically a perfect game. You could almost call it that. And it was played pretty perfectly on the side of Gen.G. I think a lot of it is to do with SANDBOX not really offering much resistance, right? And I want to kind of see them go back to more of that mono red style, because then at least they're doing something, you know? Go out, you know, swinging, instead of, you know, your scaling composition being absolutely out-snowballed with nothing that it can do at any point in the game.
If the Aphelios and Thresh didn't fall as far behind as they did, they would have been able to probably contest third dragon, but so many pieces just kept falling apart around the map.
Yeah.
The comp in theory, when you're really outclassed in terms of teams, relying on a composition to carry you in mid-late is pretty reasonable.
16.5 thousand gold, by the way.
Yeah.
That is a huge lead. As everyone out-damaging their opponents, aside from Renekton.
Take a look at that right there.
What's this?
Right to the left of the stick.
Oh!
Yeah, SANDBOX was ahead at one point.
Oh my god.
And they let the lead slip away from them.
They did.
How could they?
Just absolutely obscene. All right, Gen.G needs to go back to the drawing board now. I don't think that you could ever let that one slide again. I can imagine Odin's going to be pretty riled up about what his team has done. But, I mean, I'm expecting Gen.G to come back swinging in game number 2. I want SANDBOX to go back to the mono red. Give me the Aatrox, give me the Lee Sin, give me all of the early game that you can possibly muster, because just slowly losing was depressing.
Center.
All right, let's go to a short break. When we get back, we'll see whether SANDBOX can fight back.